All right, guys, if you clicked on this video, there's a good chance that you're trying to catch some saltwater trout, aka speckled trout, gray trout, or even some drum or flounder. All right, so right now it is November 2nd, and the bite is good. A lot of good fishing going on in the fall as a transition with the weather happens, temperatures, water temperatures cool down. Just in general, bait is moving, fish are moving. It's just an enjoyable time of the year to go fishing. And right now, as the colder temperatures come in, we've got a lot of speckled trout. And with that, some drum and everything in between. But with what I'm going to show you today, you can catch, obviously, trout and pretty much anything inshore with this. And we've got two things. You got, what I'm speaking from is strictly artificial, but soft plastics and hard baits. All right. As far as soft plastics, a lot of times I'm using a jig head, and some of my favorites are the Z-Man trout eyes. Okay, here's what they look like. Z-Man trout eyes. This is a 3/16 ounce. I'm usually in a 3/16 ounce or a 1/4 ounce when I'm using jigs. I can work that in shallow water and bouncing off the bottom, whether you're in your structure or oyster beds, or even just troll it through the water, turning your spinning reel steadily, right? Just a steady retrieve. And some of my favorites are actually these NLBN, which is no live bait needed. And they make probably one of the best looking jig heads I've ever seen. And this is what they look like. Very strong, pretty neat little rigging here, very lifelike. But a great hook, a great head, and when paired up with any kind of soft plastic, I think it looks really good. You can use their soft plastics. This is a 3-inch paddle tail from them. And this is what it would look like with a hook in it. Okay. But these tend to get bitten off and destroyed pretty quickly by little fish, ones you're not trying to catch. But I love Z-Man products when it comes to soft plastic. So a lot of times I put Z-Man on these jig heads. I think it looks just as good. Actually, you can see I've used this one so much that, the tail's about to come off. But with Z-Man, you can see how much tail's there, but I can keep pulling that thing and it's almost indestructible. So I really like Z-Man for their plastic because you get a lot of use out of it. It endures a lot of those little nibbles when you're trying to catch bigger fish. You got your pinfish and all these other little things trying to bite at your bait. But one bait will last a long time. So you get a lot more life for your money when it comes to plastics. So those are my favorites for soft plastics. Once again, 3/16 ounce to a 1/4 ounce, anywhere from shallow water, whether it be a couple of feet up to 4, maybe 6 feet, bouncing it off the bottom, or a steady retrieve. Really like that. Those are great. And people don't realize that when you're reeling these steadily, this paddle tail gives off a lot of vibration in the water. And you would think that, oh, there's no sound. How does this attract fish? Why would it be any good unless they just happen to see it coming right in front of them? But the vibrations from the paddle tail actually does go through the water and attracts them via sound, not just sight. And I love this color, which is called Sexy Penny. It's got a gold top with sparkles in it and a chartreuse bottom. That seems to contrast really well with the water that I typically fish in, which can be somewhat murky. I will use like a pearl color, and a pearl pretty much can be used in all conditions. But I like to add a little color, especially in darker water, to give a little more contrast for the fish to be able to see the bait. What else? Hard plastics. So those are great. Those work all the time, pretty much. Another thing this time of year, you can get away with using top water almost all day because you get a lot of weather where there's just cloudy skies, a lot of shade, not a lot of sunlight. You know, the weather with those cold fronts coming through, it's very overcast. And with that, you can throw top water, not just early morning, late evening, but throughout the day, especially with a low fog and low light conditions. Something like this Heaton Super Spook Junior is great. I personally like to take the treble hooks off and put these inline single aught hooks. To me, it's just less mess in my tackle box. Trebles just get to be really messy. I think I get a better bite with this and a better hook set with that single hook just digging in there. I feel like I get a lot more fish coming off and shaking off with the trebles. And I think it just looks a little bit cleaner presentation wise. So catch plenty of fish on trebles. It's not that that really matters. It's just a personal preference. But the Heaton Spook Junior is one of my favorites, as well as the Top Dog Junior. And see, I actually have trebles still on this guy. I never took them off. But that's a great color. And that is top water, you know, just working it slowly across, back and forth. This time of year, you see a lot of bigger trout. This is a good time to catch a big trout. And a lot of times they're eating some of the smaller trout. For some reason, this time of year, they're just really hungry and they just gorge and eat. And so it's a good time to get a big bite. So you can catch a lot of fish, but you can also get a really good bite. I mean, trophy size trout. So that's top water. And then after that, one of my favorites, I mean, I use this year round, is the Mirrodine HMR 17. This is a purple with white and silver, chartreuse and orange bottom. Once again, I took the trebles off and put the inline single aught hooks on there. These are owners I think these are number 1s, and then I'll move up the number 2s on bigger baits like the Mirrodine XL. So black top, chartreuse bottom, gold. But these guys work great. To me, these are fish finders. So they cast them out. They're subsurface lures. They stay within 1 to 2 feet at the top of the water column. So when you pull this along, it digs a little bit, but then it floats right back up. Digs, floats back up. So that's why it's called a twitch bait. Give it a couple of twitches, pause. You can kind of work it back and forth any other way. But that rattle sound is just a big attractor to them and will typically bring a good bite. But year round, I have really good bites with a Mirrodine. It's just something you got to have in your tackle box, and it just seems to work every time, all year. So those are good. I keep a few of those in my tackle box, different colors. I even have this Rapala. It's called the Sexy Mullet Twitch bait. Actually, is it? We're going to find out here. Once again, treble hooks. We've got some baits in here with treble hooks, and trying to get these out, they just get all tangled. And that's why I like to switch it off with these. This is not Sexy Mullet. That's actually the name of a Z-Man bait, one of their plastics. But this is the Rapala X-Rap Twitchin' Mullet. It's number 8. Love this because where I fish, Eastern North Carolina, a lot of bait, a lot of mullet. And this one works really well. These are my favorite lures to use. If the bite is hard and they seem turned off by a lot of noise, maybe a little subtle presentations, that's when I use the jigs and the soft plastics a little more, because these can give off a lot of vibrations, a lot of noise. I mean, it really will wake a fish up. But this time of year, they're pretty hungry. They're not really spooked too much. But if the bite gets hard, you got to go back and forth and try different things and see what they like. I mean, it could be top water. It could be a subsurface lure like the twitch bait. It could be a soft plastics, whether you're bouncing off the bottom or doing a slow retrieve or a fast retrieve or a couple of pops. And it could be a total different color. The bite could be on for 1 hour and then it goes dead. You put a different color on there and the next hour the bite's back. It's just, you got to go out there and figure it out and just try different things. Be okay trying different things. All right. So we talked about our soft plastics and our hard plastics, topwater, subsurface. And another one you can do is a weightless bait with no jig head. And I'll show you what this looks like. You can use the same soft plastics used for jigs, except instead of having a weighted head on the front of the jig, this puts a weight underneath the belly of the lure and allows it to ride the surface or the top of the water column a little better. As you can see, this is where you tie your bait in, weight on the bottom, and then this will just cruise through the water, and that's another good way. I love these little mullets by No Live Bait Needed. Those work really well. But that's what we got, guys. Those are a good place to start. Oh, there's my dog Cash. You can probably hear him. But that'll get you through the season. Hope you enjoyed this. Let me know what you like to use and what you found helpful. I'm probably missing some things, but those are kind of my tried and true, and I usually have a good chance of catching fish with those. And there's a ton of baits on the market to use, but you just got to figure out your own. Till next time, fish on.